Hi guys, we are going to look at the demo for how to use SPSS. First of all, SPSS stands for Statistical Package for Social Science, where we can use this software to get the analysis, and from there we can easily interpret those values as well as the charts that we are going to get. Alright, right now what you can see over here is the interface of a variable view, where if you have your IBM SPSS software, it could be any version. So I'm using version 26. So once you click in that, then you will end up with this landing page, which is under a variable view, which you should able to see file, edit, and so until help, as well as the other toolbars that I have right here with me. And also you should able to see a variable view down here and also data view. So first of all, to get started with SPSS, we need to understand what do we mean by variable view and also what do we mean by data view. So variable view is the place where we will be defining the variables. We will start defining variables one by one. Each rows will be representing a particular variable. And once we define the variables over here, then we can go to the data view to start key in the data points. So first, we need to know that in the variable view, we key in the variables. We just project the variables, and in data view, we can start key in our values. We will look into the functions later when we are moving on with a particular subject on a numerical descriptive as well as graphical descriptive. At this point of time, you should able to define your variables first, then only we can key in the data. Let's say for that, I'm going to have such a data set that I'm having right here with me, where the first variable here is actually a name, followed by salary, gender, education level, and number of family members. So under the name, we have to write the variable's name. So the first variable name that I'm having is with the variable name of name. Okay, name of a person probably, or name of a respondent. And I have salary, I have gender, education level, and family members. So we will be giving these variables into our SPSS first. We will define our variables in the variable view, and we will start key in the information in a data view. This is just for an example. So before that, let's look into your variable view here. You have name, you have type, width, decimal, label, values, missing values, columns, alignment, measure, and row. So now we are just going to focus on the points that we have to pay attention, like name. You need to give your variable name over here, and you need to define what type of variable do you have. In order for you to identify what type of variables you have, or for you to define what type of variables you have, once you click in the cell, you can see the three dots over here. So click on the three dots, and you can see you can define what type of variable that you want to define. Is it going to be numeric, or is it going to be comma, dot, scientific notation, and so on. And you also have an option of a string. Like name, it will comes under string because we just use letters or words for defining the name. And here you have the width and decimal places. Width will be giving us how many characters or how many values it can take up, and decimal place is how many decimal point that you want. So you can just click cancel over here, so that will be the type. And if you don't want to define your width and decimal over here, you can just click over here, and then you can just increase and decrease your number of decimal points, number of values that it can take up. And also for a decimal, you can take up those values. And under the labels, you can give a longer name or description for a variable that you have. And values, this particular column is applicable only for a categorical variable where we are going to give labels. Instead of defining male, we are going to label it as 1. Instead of female, we are going to label it as 2. So if that kind of variable we have, then we will be writing your values over here. And another important thing that you need to know is that your measure can be ordinal, nominal, or there is another scale as a scale. So if you have a numerical variable, you'll be choosing a scale. And other than that, when you have a categorical variable, you can just put in ordinal or nominal according to the variables. And under the rows, you can just leave it as an input. So since I didn't give any name over here, you can see the three scales has come out for the measure. Scale is for numerical variable, and for a categorical variable, you can choose as ordinal or nominal. And now we are going to start with the first variable definition. So for that, I'm going to use this particular data. So the first variable that I'm having right here is name. So I'm going to write here as name. And name, as what we can see over here, is projected as Stephen Lee and so and so. So what I'm using over here is actually the string. So we are using the string over here. Let me make it smaller and we can see things side by side. All right. Okay. So the type of a variable that I'm going to choose over here is string, and the number of characters, the maximum number of characters that I will allow is 8. Is okay because all of this is lesser than 8. So I'm just going to click OK. And of course, if we are choosing string, decimal already automatically will become 0 because it does not hold any decimal for a name. And label, you just can give a longer name like name of a person, right? Even though this is a categorical variable which comes under a nominal variable, but we don't have any values to project because everyone having a different name. But let's say we are going to have a common thing like male and female or degrees or the other variables, then only we will be inputting a values. Don't worry, we will look into it in a while. And there is no missing value, so no need to touch this column, no need to touch. Be sure about your variable. This is a nominal variable and leave the last part as a input. Another thing is that the most important is you need to give a name. You need to define your type, width and decimal, how many you want to give, label and values if it's a categorical variable. Other than that, if you are not sure about your measure, you can just leave it as what it is projected. Later we will see into it. Let's say the second variable is a salary. And I know salary is in the numeric case over here. So I'm going to leave it as a numeric here. And the width, I don't want 8 because all the numbers maximum have 4 digits. So I'm just going to leave it as 4. This is not necessarily need to be changed, but it's up to you. And I don't want any decimals because everyone is having a salary without any decimals over here. So for a longer name, I'm just going to give it as salary. Salary of a respondents. Okay, and I'm not going to give any value because this is a numeric variable and I'm not going to touch anything. If you don't touch anything, measure will become as unknown and your input your role will become automatically an input. So here I can change it to scale because this is a numerical variable, but let's say if you're not sure, then you no need to touch this part. And the next one is gender. So gender, I key in the name as gender for the variable name and I leave this as numeric and not string. Why? Because instead of writing female and male all the time, I'm just going to project male is 1 and female is 2. So I'm going to give value labels here. So under the value labels, you can click the 3 dots. Value labels that I'm going to give is 1 value. The label will be stands for male and then I'm going to add it. and I give a value of 2 for a female, and I'm going to add it. Since only 2 levels exist, so I can just click OK. Other than that, you can just write over here the width, the decimal width. We don't need anything. We leave it as 3. Decimal, you can have decimal, or you don't want to you just want to write as 1 and 2. You can just make this as also 0. And this is gender of a respondent. I hope so far clear. Again, if you don't want to write anything on measure, it's okay. But if you are sure that this is a nominal variable, you can just choose that as a nominal variable. Now, let's move on with the next one, education level. When I'm writing this and enter, I'll be having a variable name containing an illegal character, which means the variable definition is not allowed. What does it mean? Okay, for a name of a variable, you can only have a single word. So instead of writing it as education space level, I'll be writing it as education only, or I can write it as education dot level. It can appear just as a single word. Then enter, you can see the rest of it. Again, the same thing as I did for the gender, because I have a common education level. So I'm going to project the values as 1 for diploma, 2 for degree, 3 for masters, and 4 for PhD. And then add and click OK. So I already have values here. Again, decimal, if you want to make it 0, you can. And the space, you just give 3 or 2, 1 is fine. And this is a education level. And we know this is a ordinal variable. Again, if you're not sure, please do not touch the measure part. And next will be our last variable, number of family members. It's a long name, so I'm just going to put it as family members. Again, it's just single word with the dot, so it can appear as it is. So I'm just going to write here as number of family members. Okay, and I do not have any values and measure. Let's say I'm just going to leave it as unknown, but if I'm going to define, it's supposed to be a scale. And decimal, I don't want again here, because I can define it as 1, 2, 3 until we have maximum 5. And the width also, you can just reduce to become 3. So this is how we key in, or how we input our variables in a SPSS software. Again, name, you need to give the name, type you have to define, and most of the time we will be having a numeric. Even it's a categorical variable, we define as a numeric, given that we are going to give any value labels here. If for gender, education, we can see that. But if it's a numerical variable, we can just leave it as it is. But when we see name, the variable of a name, it's just a different name where we don't have any common values to be given. So we just leave it as a string. I hope it's clear. How do you write your SPSS software? How do you key in the data that you are having? I'll see you guys. This is about your key in your variables, defining variables. I'll see you guys in the next video with how to key in the data. Till then, take care.